couple weeks back, Screen Geek reported that a Starship Troopers remake readaptation was in the works. At the time, I decided not to cover it because they're not as reliable as of a source. They've run some things that were dubious. So I remembered it, but I decided not to report on it at the time. Then, just a few days ago, the major trades confirmed this is actually in the works, and they reported who the director attached to it, and it is Neill Blomkamp. So credit to Screen Geek. They were the first to report this a few weeks back, but it has now been confirmed by the major trades. This thing is happening. So if you're wondering about me, I saw the original Starship Troopers when it first came out in theaters. I was in high school at the time, and so it's a movie that played great for high schoolers for probably all the wrong reasons and all the discussions of shower scenes and things like that, where the discussion went back in the day. But, ultra violence, things like that. We did not understand the underlying satire of the entire film. But as someone that liked Total Recall and RoboCop, we got a new sci-fi ultra-violent film from Paul Verhoeven, so I was all over it. And with time, started to realize the deeper meanings of everything that he was doing, and I've always had a lot of fun with this film. Then, about a year ago, Helldivers 2 came out that essentially is Starship Troopers, the video game, plus some Terminator and RoboCop thrown in there, which kind of created this revival of love for Starship Troopers. So I rewatched all 5 Starship Troopers movies. Yes, there are 5 of them. There's the theatrical one, 2 direct-to-video live action, and 2 animated direct-to-video films. And I debated doing a ranking of the movies. I even reached out to Casper Van Dien about trying to do an interview with him, but of course none of that ended up happening, though I do have all my notes. My son got really into Helldivers, so I ended up showing him all the Starship Troopers movies because I am a good father. And right after all of that, just a couple months after rewatching all of the Starship Troopers movies, I literally watched them twice last year because I watched them once by myself, once with my son. They announced we are getting a new Starship Troopers movie. They also announced they're making a Helldivers movie, so interesting how all that will work out with very similar concepts. But the key there's 2 key details in here. A bunch of people immediately offended. How can you remake Paul Verhoeven? Like, look at what happened with RoboCop. Look what happened with Total Recall. They took these wild, hard R Paul Verhoeven concepts and squished them into these mainstream, watered-down PG-13 movies and ruined the whole thing. Fair enough. Big difference, though. Paul Verhoeven is not the originator of Starship Troopers. Now, of course, also Total Recall is an adaptation of a short story, but it's an adaptation of a short story, so there was a lot of expansion there, like from what Philip K. Dick wrote in the short story versus what Total Recall evolved into as a movie, whereas Starship Troopers was a full book that Paul Verhoeven really Paul Verhoeven. Like, there's so much of that movie that is so wildly, like, plot points are the same, but the flavor is totally different. That he very much adapted that into his worldview, his commentary he wanted to make there. And this movie, it's not a remake of Paul Verhoeven. We're not trying to do that. We're going back to the famous book from Heinlein, Starship Troopers, and readapting the book. Those are pretty different things. And I think if you can get past the fact that we're remaking Paul Verhoeven, no, we're readapting Heinlein. Not the same thing. And Paul Verhoeven was not the first adaptation of Starship Troopers. There is an 80s animated adaptation of Starship Troopers. You can watch it on YouTube whenever you want. Predates Verhoeven by 10 years. I believe it's anime. It already existed. So there's decades of Starship Troopers, and even Aliens heavily influenced by Starship Troopers. Like, that's stuff that Cameron has talked about. I think that's what a lot of people are missing. That Paul Verhoeven's thing was Paul Verhoeven's thing. And I imagine Helldivers, the movie, will continue in the Paul Verhoeven flavor, if you want the Paul Verhoeven satire. The other big piece in here, this one will have the Neill Blomkamp flavor. If you have seen a Paul Verhoeven movie, and you have seen District 9, you know immediately Paul Verhoeven and Neill Blomkamp do not make the same types of movies. There actually is a good bit of, in certain senses, there's similarities. They are interested in similar ideas. They have similar dark senses of humor. But the way that plays out in their two worldviews, in their two cinematic styles, is very, very different. When I hear Neill Blomkamp doing his version of Starship Troopers, I go, oh man, if he can get back to early Blomkamp with that, that could be really, really cool. I'm also new to the Blomkamp. Well, the Blomkamp. I didn't watch District 9 when it came out. I didn't watch District 9 until just a few years ago. I was very late to the party. I'd heard fantastic things about it for over a decade. Finally watched it, and it lived up to the hype. Like, it is just like such a tense movie that gets more and more intense as it goes along. It looks so good. And you think, if he can take what he did there, that energy, that aesthetic, and apply it to the story of Starship Troopers, because it doesn't have to be the satire. It doesn't have to be Paul Verhoeven. It's not going to be that. But that story that's in there and the themes that are in the book, you could have something really, really cool that isn't meant to compete with Verhoeven. Complements it. It's two wildly different cinematic interpretations of the same thing. I'm all for it. Final thought, though, this is not the first time Neill Blomkamp has been attached to a remake readaptation. He was going to do Aliens. He was going to do RoboCop. And they didn't happen. They fell apart for whatever reason. So unfortunately, him being attached to a thing, my first thought is, oh man, that means it's not going to happen. Oh, I'm really excited to see that, but it's not going to happen. Maybe this one will break that. Maybe this will be the one that like brings us back, and or he finally is able to get one of these adaptations made. But when I hear Neill Blomkamp doing Starship Troopers, realizing it's not remaking Verhoeven, it's readapting the book, there's so much there that could be really, really, really cool. There's a lot of stuff they simply couldn't do for budget reasons and technology reasons. Like the mech suits and stuff are in the book. They're not in the first movie because you just couldn't really do it. So there's so much you can do that would be a very different film that feels very Blomkamp. I'm all for it. Sounds great to me, and looks like I'll be taking my I guess then high school son to see a very violent, hopefully very violent Blomkamp film when this one comes out. Let me know your thoughts down below. And if you want me to do that Starship Troopers ranking, I've got a ton of notes written for a video I never did.